the backwards lightning talk. And it's about debugging in rather awkward situations. So the sort of normal debugging situation is, you've got your print and log statements. In fact, there have been lots of talks about this earlier today. You've got your debugger, Wing IDE, PDB, etc. Most of you have tried those. But what about all these other situations, such as if you're working with Python multiprocessing? You've got this other process out there. How do you get your debugger into it? Or what if you've got maybe 500 0MQ workers? So what do you do with that? So that's a distributed system. We refer to that as maybe it's a little bit otherworldly because it could be on a different server. It's not in your local environment. And then there's daemons, right? They've kind of become detached from the normal reality of the operating system. Walker told us all about that in a previous PyTexas presentation. He's looking pained. And then there are live production systems, and those are the scariest of all, right? So let's see. All right. Oh, I can hold this. So the best way to avoid these kinds of sort of challenging debugging situations is just to not have them, right? Do clean code. Use tools like Clone Digger to get rid of your code duplication. Delete unnecessary code, right? Less code is less chance of a bug. There are tools out there for reducing cyclomatic complexity. Use Pylint, right? Maybe if you're working with a big team, you've got challenges with code quality. You don't want to see any like try, colon, except pass, right? That'll kill you every time. Oh, 3 minutes, okay. So service-oriented architecture can help as well. There's a lot of good things in that philosophy, but kind of if all else fails, you need to sort of prepare. Now, logging can help you a lot. Obviously, the Python logging module has some great tools like the ability to log the module name and the callable and the line number. And if you've got a lot of services running on different servers and you need to know where did this message come from, those kinds of tools can help. A log aggregation tool like Splunk. We use Splunk where I work. There are other tools like that as well, but if you've got a zillion log files, wouldn't it be nice to do the equivalent of a Google search across all of your log files? Or do joins, right? And in order to do joins between your log files and do reports and various kinds of metrics, you need to have a sort of a well-defined format for all of your log messages, a logging model that everyone who builds all of these different services should adhere to. So, all right, so this slide isn't quite finished, but this is another situation. Now we're starting to veer into the paranormal. We're beyond log files. We're starting to have to, well, actually, web development's getting pretty normal. I mean, Django debug toolbar. Any Django developer has seen that, but it's still kind of cool that you can actually kind of debug in your browser when your web application crashes. So that's kind of a remote process, and you've gotten dumped into a local debugger. But this is the hard stuff, and now I hand off the presentation to someone who knows more about the hard stuff.
I need to record it, I guess.
Yes.
So real quick, I would call this integrated types of debugging, where you have a process that's somewhere remotely or it's difficult to get into, it's production, you don't want to stop it, you don't want to change any code, you don't want to restart it. So the things you can do with like WinPDB, you can do this with Wing IDE and others. They actually have shims that you can put into your app in advance, and they provide remote debugging capability. You can connect to it over a socket, stop it, and do traditional types of debugging. Some of the other things that get a little bit further into the weeds in terms of what you can do is like twisted manhole. Within the twisted environment, you can have manhole, you can SSH in, evaluate all kinds of Python evaluations. Python manhole is a little bit simpler. Parasite is amazing in that you can inject code into any Python process that has no support for debugging in advance. And Pyrosite's really pretty cool. Was that it?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. All right, so Pyrosite, when you start it up, it will actually launch GDB. It will insert code into another Python process, causing it to start a new thread and create a listener that will then wait for commands. And you can evaluate Python evals, send the results back. So it's a very cool way to debug things in production.